sky? Is it morning when my place is night? Is it raining when my place is dry? I wanna see, I wanna know what's on the other side, the other side. I wanna travel the world with you. What's on the other side, the other side? Wherever you are, I want you. Is it warmer when it's colder mine? How many hours will it take to fly? When will I see you with my own eyes? I wanna see, I wanna know what's on the other side, the other side. I wanna travel the world with you. What's on the other side, the other side? Wherever you are, I want you. Travel the world with you. Travel the world with you. What's on the
You're listening to Game On DC, your home for local gaming and esports news in the DMV. Find the show on social media at Game On DC and by using the hashtag GoDC. Without further ado, here are your hosts, John and Joey.
What is up, DMV, and welcome to Game On DC, the show dedicated to you, the gamers and esports fanatics, right here in the East Coast capital of esports. My name is John Fiasco Byerman. I'm joined, as always, by the king of the courtside, Joey Courtside King McDermott. Joey, happy Monday, my dude.
Yeah, dude, Mondays are always rough, but this Monday's feeling pretty good. Right after that NBA 2K League draft, we have a great guest on the show tonight, quite a bit to talk about. I'm excited.
Absolutely. That's why we're having the show. The season's about to start off. The draft is officially over for the 2K League. I know our guest is happy that the draft is over. When we're trying to get him on and ask him for the show here, didn't want to bother him too much, Joey. We have seen those whiteboards that he usually uses in his office with like 80 million different players' names on them. We're sitting there just going like, you know what? There's a reason why he won Coach of the Year last year in 2021, but we'll get to that here in a second. Joey, as we all know here, if you're tuning into Game On DC, the live show is where all the fun happens. So if you want to tune in on Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time for Game On DC, you can find it at twitch.tv/OTN Media. But have no fear, if you're unable to watch a show Monday nights, we have the podcast version of the show available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher. Just look up Game On DC. We are there for you, and it's pretty much available anywhere else you can find an RSS feed for podcasts as well. Joey, just a quick rundown one more time. What's our social media? Where can our DMV listeners and viewers go to follow us?
Oh, that's one I was not expecting, John. I believe it's at Game On DC on Twitter, Instagram, pretty much everywhere at Game On DC. We also check hashtag GoDC as well.
Joey, it was a curveball, but it was an easy curveball. You knocked that one out of the park, but no more baseball puns because they're currently locked out. Joey, our guest that we have on today is a big baseball fan also. He was giving me a little crap before we got on the show, and it's completely fine. I expect nothing less. It's all in good fun. But Joey, we are honored once again to have our good friend, the 2021 Coach of the Year for the NBA 2K League, and the head coach of the back-to-back, say it one more time, back-to-back NBA 2K League champions, Wizards District Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I forget to change the slide transition, so we're going to get this cool little Game On DC logo pop up here one more time. But you know what? It builds the anticipation. It builds the drama. You're watching Game On DC, and just like that, the head coach of WizDG, Pat Crossan, joins the show. Pat, first off, thank you so much for taking time out of your Monday. You had a heck of a weekend. We didn't want to break into your rest and relaxation a little bit before the season started, but we appreciate you being here.
Hey, John and Joey, thanks for having me. That intro, man, I was getting pumped up. Like I feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins at this point. So I'm ready to run through a brick wall or something.
Was that because of what we were saying, or was that because of the elongated video introducing coming in?
Little bit of both. I mean, that graphic, it looks sick. So, that gets me pumped up. Obviously, you're hyping me up a little bit. The weekend, like you said, it's over. The draft finally done. That's like a weight off my shoulders. Now it's just about getting the guys here and getting ready for the season.
I mean, we don't have to hype you up. We just read your resume. It's very impressive from the get go. Let's be completely honest here. But you mentioned here, Pat, and we're just going to start right out of the get go here. Obviously, the big news here is the draft was this past weekend. It was done a little bit different. It feels like after the first couple seasons, they kind of switched up, obviously, because of the ongoing pandemic and everything. So it was done virtually out of a really cool gaming and esports bar in downtown Manhattan, which I thought was pretty cool. But everything else was virtual. You and your team set up at the alarm.com house in the DC area as well, like you've done for the past years. And you had the unfortunate honor of having to wait to the very end of round one before your first pick, because that's what happens when you're the champion of the league. Just give me your mindset going into this draft. Obviously, you're looking to replace JBM, and if we're being completely honest, that is a very, very hard task to do, if it's even possible. What was your mindset going into this draft, realizing you got to wait to the 23rd pick in the first round before it happens?
Yeah, no, it's definitely tough. Before we've had the number one pick, so you can pick anyone at that point. It's very easy, but still you don't want to mess that up. And especially in our league, you have 5 players. You really can't miss up any draft pick. Like they're all equally important, and that team you put together is very, very important. The chemistry that they bring to each other, I think is kind of it's the tier. It's the it's the tier from the good organizations to the bad organizations to some in the middle. Is the chemistry. So for us going into the draft, you're not going to replace Jack. We don't expect Ty to do that. We've told Ty when you're coming in here, we're going to win with Ty. We're not going to win if you try to replicate Jack's game or try to play like him. Come in here, play your style. We can make some concessions, and change how we like to play to fit you. And all five players have a key to the team. I think that's very important. And just understanding that going into the season when we start practice. So the guys know that they're understandable and they're ready to get Ty in here to get to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've already mentioned him, the first round draft pick for WizDG, 23rd overall. Is Ty described as a combo guard? I know on the draft stream they're talking about how he can play the 1 and the 2. He can play the point or the shooting guard, which is great, especially since when we take a look at how the season started for WizDG last year. Obviously, Nudini was moved up to the 2. You had LeBron down at the 4, and then the change was made early on in the season. Nudini went back to the 4, and B-Rich came in at the 2. So really, when you're looking to move on from JBM, getting someone who can play the 1 and the 2 is actually a really good start to see maybe who we can get there in the second round. So we can see here on our screen right now, obviously Ty's been around in the scene for a while. He's a veteran, but he's a rookie for the league. Averaged 22.6 points in the combine, 7.6 assists, a half a steal a game. He's shooting almost 54% from behind the arc. Looks like he's a solid player here coming in for WizDG. Can you just break down what you saw in Ty and what he's going to be able to bring to this team?
So one of the unique things about Ty is he's been around in the community for a long time and played on a lot of good teams. Before the 2K League was announced, Take-Two, the creators of NBA 2K, they held two $250,000 tournaments back-to-back years, before the 2K League. And, we competed in that. I competed in that. I qualified with my team. And fun fact, his team actually kicked out my team. So they beat me, I think, in the second round of the tournament. They went to go to the finals. And unfortunately, they lost. They did not get the 250K. But it's shown that I think this was like 2016, so it's shown that he's played at a high level for many years, and he wasn't playing point guard back then; he was playing center. So he's played multiple positions. He actually played for the Bucks season 2. He played lockdown for them. Then did it get back in the league? Went back to point guard. Been grinding the past couple years, trying to get back in the league. And for us, he's a very good defensive point guard, which goes into our philosophy here since we were arguably, I think, 1 and 2 back-to-back years in ranked defense. So from that aspect, we loved it. Loved how he plays defense. He's very good on ball. So when Justin needs breaks and he's not guarding the best ball handler on the opposing team, Ty can step up and handle that role as well. So for us, it's all about defense. And then offensively, I think he's very underrated. He doesn't really play with like a lot of big pro-am players in the offseason or a lot of the 2K League pros. He kind of plays with his in real life friends. So he's not, he's someone who's very loyal to the people around him, which we love because we like to say we're a family here. We're loyal to each other. We play for each other. So those are the things that really attracted us to take a look at Ty and then eventually draft him.
Yeah, absolutely. I his stats speak for himself. He had an amazing combine. Like you said, he's been around the scene for a while. He has that experience. Now he has a chance with WizDG. Maybe a little pressure on him, playing for the defending champs. Season 5 that is going to have so many changes in how the season's even going to work. I was a big fan of the weekly structure. Apparently, I was in the minority in that, and that's completely fine. I just like structure. That's all I ask for. Now we're going back to like a more esport feel, more tournament based, and we're introducing 3v3. Obviously, I mean, I have to ask, picking Ty, does that play into your 3v3 strategy as well?
Somewhat. I think for us though, we 5v5, obviously we just went back to back, so we're trying to go all in 5v5. That's definitely a main goal, but 3v3 is equally important as well. I think this season is going to be a little interesting because it's kind of like we're thrown in there. We have good 3v3 players. We'll do like a tryout situation to start the season just to see kind of the combinations that we can put out. Justin is actually just awkward. Our lockdown actually plays stage, so that's the highest level of 3v3 you can play, and he's very good at it. So I think that also leads to us having an advantage as well. But still, we can make playoffs in both and win championships in 3v3 or 5v5. It doesn't matter. We're trying to win as much as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do have to ask, are we going to see Dave Fry possibly play the one in the 3v3? Because look, that one game he played at the point, he balled out a little bit. It was pretty impressive. Dave Fry knew what he was doing.
Yes. Please don't tell him that, John.
Don't tell him
Please.
that? Okay, well, I won't tell him that. It's fine. It's fine.
He's gonna tell me every day in practice.
Coach, put me in at the one. Come on, I got this, man. I got this.
Yes, no, but luckily, he's a great center, so I think 3v3 is gonna kind of, be very good for his game. Um, so we'll just have to wait and see because I know tournament structure wise, the first tournament is 5v5, and then after that, we're gonna worry about 3v3 because the next one's a 3v3 tournament.
Absolutely. And obviously, it's going to be a little of a hybrid situation here this year as well. Instead of going to Dallas for the finals, and instead of going to New York to play the season, looks like we're going to the Midwest. We're going to Indianapolis, which is kind of cool. It's a beautiful little Midwestern city. Spend a lot of time out there myself. It's going to be a little different though. What's your take on the hybrid model and playing in person a little bit more now in Indianapolis instead of New York?
I mean, I love it. I mean, I love getting back to that in-person play. Dallas was, it was a lot of fun for us because we had a lot of success, but even still, just going there, seeing a lot of people in the league that whether it's other teams, other league staff, just see them in person again and getting outside it's great. Getting back to normal life, hopefully one day. So we're excited. You have to get out of your group stages to get to Indianapolis. I think it's the top 16 maybe get there of the league. So, or maybe it's top 8. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we got to get to that point first. We got to get out of our group stage. Got to make sure that we get enough points because you have to accumulate enough points to qualify for playoffs at the end of the season. So we really need to have these deep runs in these tournaments, and that's probably the most important thing.
Absolutely. And just real quick before we move on to our next question here, Jordan, you may remember Jordan. No, you're shaking head. You don't remember him. Our good friend Jordan, who is now with the New York Islanders. Shout out to the New York Islanders Twitch page over there, the Isles GT for the raid. Do appreciate that support as well. Go Caps. I'm obligated to say that. I'm sorry. Go Caps. But nonetheless, everyone, welcome. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Appreciate everyone hopping in there and chat and giving Pat a hard time. It's fine. Jordan said that you're adorable, by the way. So we'll put it there. Now, we're going to move to the second round real quick because I have a serious problem with the league. It's good for us. It's good for WizDG. I have a serious problem with the thought process of the NBA2K League. How in the world do 23 teams through 42 picks pass on a 2-time NBA 2K League champion and allow him to go back to the same team he just went back to back on for the chance for the three-peat? You guys are now returning 4 out of the 5 starting players for your back-to-back championship roster. And of course, I am talking about the one and only B-Rich, my man, stepping up big last year, coming back to WizDG. Pat, I have to ask you, how hard was this decision when you saw B-Rich was sitting there for you at 43?
Well, it was a tough decision. It came down to, probably 10 people at that point. We just kind of threw a dart at the dartboard and, it landed on Brandon again. So he's back. No, but like you said, what everyone else is doing, they're going to do their own thing. Obviously, Brandon fell to us. That was our hope the whole time. Was getting a little nervous there at some of the picks because I knew he had a good amount of interviews and teams interested in him. But there was always a chance he could fall. There was a chance he could go to some teams, between that first and second pick. And we were sweating out a little bit. And then I think maybe 4 or 5 picks away, we were pretty confident at that point because I don't think anyone needed a shooting guard. So, we're happy to bring Brandon back. Like you said, came in mid-season for us, absolutely stepped up. I think we went on 9-game win streak. And then at that point in the playoffs, had a crazy run with us. He stepped up, especially in the championship game. He had a lot of big shots and he came through in a lot of clutch moments. And then to bring him back, obviously with the four guys, we have chemistry already with them, and now we just got to integrate Ty. And I'm feeling pretty confident about the season.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of reasons to feel confident, Mr. Coach of the Year. Bringing Brandon back is big. I mean, it's big for you guys. It's big for him. He knows the system. He's integrated into the players, like you were mentioning. Now, bringing someone in new like Ty, how do you make him feel a part of that group when four players have played together for so long?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think it starts with our guys. They're very welcoming. We had a team call the other day just to go over pretty much travel plans and stuff like that. And they were all like, "Hey, Ty, anything you want to do, anything you want to implement, just do it. Just say it. We don't care. We're going to do what you want to do. You're the point guard. We understand that you're going to bring a lot to the table and we want to hear what you have to say." I think that's great. That's the great thing about our culture here in WizDG. Like, if you have something to say, just say it, because we don't want to get into the shoulda, woulda, couldas when it's, the 20-year anniversary and we see each other and it's like, oh, well, if I had just said this back then, or, if I did this, maybe we would have won. That's the one thing I want to impress on these guys. Like, we can do it now. We can have our disagreements, but at the end of the day, we're going to fight. We're going to go out and we're going to play for each other. And, you know, obviously ties are a part of our family now, and this is his home in DC.
Absolutely. John touched on it a bit with the formation changes going into the schedule for this season. But one of the other major changes is one lack of a roster spot as well. You guys were probably one of the teams that most effectively used it in the league the last couple of years, I feel like. So moving in, knowing you're one player shorter, how are you guys approaching that a little bit differently so early on?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for us, it's going to be unique with 3v3 more so because if you have that sixth player, you could easily do 3-on-3 scrimmages in team, in house instead of us scrimmaging other 2K League teams. Um, so my thought process is I might have to participate in those scrimmages, get my competitive juices flowing again, and the guys are probably going to kick my ass every day in practice, but for 3v3, to keep it in house and have those scrimmages just with us and not have to worry about other teams, looking at what we're doing or kind of watching some things that work well for us is pretty important. So the six-player role, I always was a big component of it, a big fan of it, because like you said, there are times in the season where maybe you need a little bit of competition to push the guys. If they're slacking a little bit, like, hey, at least there's a guy right behind you who's itching to play. So it is kind of a new factor this year that we're going to have to deal with. But the five guys we have, I mean, they're professionals, tried and true. So I'm not too worried about, them not coming to play and practice and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that I'm going to miss with that six-man spot because, like Joey was saying, WizDG was probably one of the only teams, if not one of a handful of teams, that it honestly felt like took that position seriously because a lot of teams sometimes picked a player that just was like, okay, like I can understand like maybe giving like a fringe player in the combine a shot to see what he's got, when he's playing with the best of the best in the league. But then there are some head scratchers out there going like, is this person good enough to actually break in, to actually give that competition? Where for you, B Rich played that role in season 3 and was outstanding at it. And obviously we saw that payoff in season 4 when it was time for him to step up and get into that starting rotation. Obviously that pays off big time. So yeah, I mean, that obviously has to change how you're going to approach it. And, I'd be honest, I would volunteer Joey and I to help participate in that 3v3 for you. But I think between Joey and myself, our average points per game is like 12. So I don't think we're going to give them that kind of competition they're going to need to take it to the next level. So I'm going to go ahead and bow out of the 3v3. Joey, are you in or out? You're staying?
Yeah, I mean, maybe in Halo, but I don't think we can keep it in NBA 2K.
Yeah. So obviously things are going to be a little different here going forward. You said looks like you're going to prioritizing the 5v5 section of the season. Obviously there are a lot of teams that are all in on the 3v3. Do you see any kind of difference when it comes to what side you want to be competitive in? Does one side have more of an advantage than the other? Or is it just kind of where that organization currently is and where they feel that they can actually compete?
It probably is, where the current organization is and how they compete. I think, there are some teams that are probably going to go all in 3v3, especially mid-season. Maybe we see this where, you can clearly tell this team, isn't that good at 5v5, or this team isn't that good at 3v3, so they kind of go all in on the other, which kind of makes the trade deadline, I guess, interesting mid-season. I didn't really think about this, from a perspective of going all in, whether it's 3v3 or 5v5 team. But for us, as greedy as it sounds, we want to win as much as we can, and because we're competitors. And at the end of the day, it's money that's going in these guys' pockets. It's money for their family, their friends, their living situation, not just here but at home as well. So we want to do well, not just for ourselves, but for the teammates that we play for.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, the roster is complete. We have our 5 guys. How soon are they arriving back here in the nation's capital?
Travel sheet just got sent in today, and we're hoping to get them next Monday. So
Boom. Next Monday, the boys are back in town. Let's go. WizDG going for that three-peat back in town next week. Super excited for that as well. What's the next thing on your list to do to prep for the season? Obviously, getting the team in. What's that first practice going to be like, and what's your number one message going into this season for the guys?
So I think there's a couple questions in there that definitely want to get to. So the next thing for us as a team is for this first tournament, this first 5v5 tournament, the groups aren't set, and what they're doing this year is it's like a pick ban situation. So the top 2 teams last year in the conference, so it'll be us and the Hornets in the East. Um, we get to send one team to the Hornets side, and then they get the pick. They send one team to us, and then we send another team, and you kind of go through the list of the Eastern Conference teams, and that's going to be your group for the first tournament. So next Monday at 6 o'clock, we have to go through that process. So when the guys get here on Monday, it's, hey, we're gonna order some pizza, we're gonna get in a room, and we're gonna work out who we want to send over to the Hornets, and we'll go through that list. And then also, we got to get the league build next week. We haven't really got a list of archetypes yet, so I think we're supposed to get that probably by this weekend. And then it's just like trying new lineups up, just trying to figure out what the meta is in the game, what kind of our strengths are, how can we oppose them on the game, how can we oppose them on other teams, and just getting teams ready to scrim. And for us, in the beginning of the season, we scrim long hours, and then because it's really like learning a new game, and these guys got to get ready and used to it. And there's certain dribble moves that are accessible to them that they can change, and jump shots are different, the timing's different. So it's just in the lab, very long hours, like to say, from probably 10 to 6 or 8 at night.
All right. A lot of study, a lot of practice. I mean, obviously it works. Back-to-back champs, just saying. So one really cool thing that all of Monty Mill Sports Entertainment's kind of doing here, announced a couple weeks ago, we had Andrew come on the show to talk about it as well, was the announcement of District E, the new esports multi-purpose facility that's being built just on the north side of Capital One Arena, actually in that little connecting area in the lobby where you get your Regal movie tickets for, right next to the escalators where the old Bar Louie is for all the DMV locals here. That's going to be the new home for WizDG watch parties and, remote play, some Caps gaming events as well. But the really cool thing is the hybrid element of this area also, because it's going to be used for activations for the Washington Capitals, Washington Wizards. So it's going to have a different variety of things to do. What can this do to really help build WizDG's brand in the DC area by having a monster facility like this attached to one of the best arenas in the nation?
I mean, I'm excited for it because going into season 3, before COVID hit, we were actually supposed to have games in DC. We were supposed to have a little mini tournament here to invite other 2K League teams and play them at St. Elizabeth's, where the Mystics and the Go-Go play. So for us to be able to have some home games next year, hopefully, and hopefully Andrew can get some other stuff there too, other big leagues and other big tournaments, to really show that, hey, this is DC. Esports is at District D, and Team Liquid is also going to be there. They're going to have a home base in the same facility that we use, and they're going to have like a little scrim room when they need to come here and on the East Coast. So we're excited to kind of also lock in that partnership with them, and they can learn from us, we can learn from them, and we can kind of pass our notes along, because I know they're a very successful organization too. So
They're not bad.
uh, not bad. I guess that's the perfect way to put it. Not bad. But I'm excited for District E. Like I said, to play games in front of fans and to, get new fans involved with WizDG and rooting for us, I think that's the goal with District D, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
So Pat, can you tell us a little bit about, and I know you're just getting over the draft, you're prepping for the season, but are there any NBA 2K League plans being talked about for in that space, whether with the league itself or just NBA 2K tournaments or sorts?
Mhm. Well, I think, we'd like to have home games, of course. We'll love to eventually get playoffs there one day. And, I don't know what they could do, but, if we could have the whole season there, that'd be great because then I wouldn't have to leave the city at all, right? So if it was just like Indianapolis, like, hey, we play all our tournaments in DC. Great, let's do it. Like I'm cool with that because then I don't have to leave anywhere, which would be great. Not that I don't want to go to Indy because I know it's not too far away. I think it's like an hour and a half flight, but it's a little different when you could just hop on the metro and it's like 3 or 4 stops to go to work every day and to play your home games.
Yeah,
So one more question alongside that. Oh, go ahead, John. I'll
no,
let you
I
go
was
in.
just gonna say, having done that flight multiple times, trust me, it's closer to 50 minutes. And it is just enough to get up in the air and just annoying before you start descending again. You have like maybe 15 minutes where you can actually get stuff done. Like if you need to go use the restroom or anything, it's about all the time you got before you start descending again. It's
You have like a 5 minute window to use that restroom where you're not using it for
yeah,
sure.
no. I mean, it's ridiculously quick, and it was a flight that I was never a fan of because I originally went to school out in Indiana, but it was not a flight I enjoyed. But it might be a little bit quicker than the Amtrak up to New York City. It might be a little bit more enjoyable, a little quicker here and there, but probably a little bit more expensive too.
I love the train. Hey, I love the train. Like Amtrak for me is perfect. I don't know. You can get up, you can move around between the cabins. It's a fun time, and you can show up 5 minutes right before it takes
That's
off, and you
true.
don't have to keep going through the line. But yeah, still excited about Indy. It's going to be really fun this year, especially going to a new city. Obviously we've been in New York before pre-COVID and playing our games there, but Indianapolis, we went there for league meetings a couple of years ago and had a fun time. So excited to go back and win some games in Indy.
Absolutely. So just to wrap back on District E, one more question for you in that space, Pat. So we've seen a lot of professional sports teams do it before, open practices, whether it be the MLB or the NBA or the NFL. Is that something that WizDG might explore as well in this new space to open it up to some fans seeing a practice?
Yeah, I think it's very accessible. Our practice space is right there, and we can have some fans there and even play maybe some of our games there this year. The ones we play online, that could be an option. That's Andrew's job, and he's going to try to figure that out for us and get us set up. But I know he's got a lot of plans, and I can't talk about everything because he's doing a good job planning all that stuff. But I know he's got a lot to say. Hopefully, coming up soon.
Absolutely. And just one question here coming from our chat, real quick. Um, Pot of Luck, obviously, we all know Pot of Luck. Great super fan of WizDG. Wants to know, do you know if fans are going to be allowed to come to games for the in-person events in Indy?
I believe so. I think so. I don't know if the league has announced anything yet, or maybe I haven't seen anything. We have a call this Thursday with the league just to go over some rules and regulations, but I don't see why not because I know they were going to do that last year when they had the studio in New York or 2 years ago. So I hope they do because really that atmosphere, and we had fans for the finals, just family and friends of the people playing and some of the league staff, but it was just really good to be in that atmosphere again. I want fans to enjoy that because they're going to see, you know, the kind of the drama that unfolds on the stage. And, um, you know, like you said, we need to get back to that experience again and hopefully everyone can enjoy it.
There's nothing like Dave Fry on the stage. That's all I'm going to say. That is an
Yes.
experience in itself.
Actually, Justin. So Justin almost broke the stage last year from jumping.
He got into it. Like the first time on stage, I was impressed. Like, look, I mean, there was nothing awkward about Just Awkward when he was on there. I mean, that was
No,
that was a sight to behold.
the admin came over. He's like, Pat, you gotta tell him to stop. It's a good stage. It's nothing like crazy. I was like, all right, well, if he breaks it, I don't know what's gonna happen at that point. So, luckily he calmed down at that after that. But it was still funny to see. Like he was getting so excited and getting into it, and he probably wasn't the guy I pegged to be getting as enthusiastic as he was, but when that stage came up and he got on it, it was just a whole nother person. It was not just awkward. It was Justin, and he was locked in.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it doesn't surprise me, but it kind of does. Like, obviously, when we were doing the broadcast throughout the season, we got this unique angle where we got to take a look in the players' room before we went back in to the quarters or coming out of halftime. And Justin was there. He was moving around. He was jumping. Like he was pacing back and forth. I mean, he's locked in, but like he's also pretty active. So I don't know if I should say I was surprised or not, but like he was definitely up there on some Day Fry level when it comes to stage presence.
Well, of course, yeah. I think his ritual is he's just got to get moving, got to get active, and that's a tough thing about esports too. Like you're stuck in a chair, hitting buttons on a controller, and you can't really exert yourself too much. So kind of in those quarters or at halftime, we tell the guys, hey, get up and start moving a little bit, and get relaxed, and then when you sit that back down, just lock in for 6 minutes, and we'll go from there.
All right, Pat, we're not going to keep you any longer. We do appreciate you hopping on a Monday night after the draft, breaking down our one new player and one returning player that I still can't believe the league let us have. Super excited to have B-Rich back. Super excited to have Ty on the team as well. Pat, again, thank you so much for joining us here on Game On DC, and we'll bug you a little bit later when things aren't so hectic right now. We'll wait till the team gets in first. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine for me. John and Joey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. You guys did a great job. You got me pumped up this whole time. I'm ready for the season. We'll get the guys here next week, and then after that, I think the first group stage plays April 5th. So just tune in then, and we'll be ready to play.
Right around the corner. Absolutely. Head coach Pat Crossan of your Wizards District Gaming, the back-to-back champs, if you forgot. Thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Head coach Pat Crossan. Joey, I absolutely love it having him on. He is such a good interview. He's super open with everything. Obviously, he's not going to tell us everything, but it's a really cool moment to get that insight from the coach of the year from last year, someone who's taken that team back to back. Obviously, season one, they bowed out in the first round of the playoffs. Season two was a little bit more disappointing, not making the playoffs. And then boom, back-to-back championships now going into season five. Again, that big hurdle being JBM. How do you replace someone like Jack, who has been an absolute monster in the 2K League for the 2 years he was there with WizDG? He's now moved on to college. Bringing a player like Tyan, I think is absolutely great. They're going to double down on that defensive play style, which has worked for them. It's worked for them the past 2 years. It's helped them win that championship and have a fantastic record. I believe it was 22-9 was their final record last year going into the postseason. Absolutely stunning record. And now bringing a player like B-Rich back. Now you have Ty, who can play both the 1 and 2. You have B-Rich, who's traditionally a 1 but was playing the 2 last year. You can completely switch it up. I love the flexibility this team has.
Yeah, I think flexibility is huge. I think one of the other major points here is that they know JBM is irreplaceable. There's no player that can easily come in and fill his shoes. So the fact they're willing to adopt a new system, to adapt that system to fit Ty, to fit B-Rich in those guard positions, I think that's so key here. Instead of saying, hey, we need you to fill this role that this amazing player filled last year. I mean, JBM was on an MVP level for most of the season last year. It's just impossible to fill those shoes very easily, if even at all. So to be able to adapt that system, to be respectful to the new players coming in or the players returning in the case of B-Rich, I think that's a really great mentality from the team as well.
Absolutely. Super excited for that. But Joey, unless we have anything else, I think it's time we wrap this show up. You got anything else for the DMV?
I think that just about does it. One thing we did not shout out was where to find WizDG.
Yes.
And I think probably the easiest place is over on Twitter.
Twitter is always going to be the best at WizardsDG. Follow for all the WizDG information there as well. Pat Crossan's on Twitter as well. Patrick Crossan _ is his handle on Twitter as well. Make sure you follow him for all the insight into what's going on with the team. Super friendly guy too. Tweet at him. He responds most of the time. Really, really awesome guy. And again, a big shout out to Pat for joining as well. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of Game On DC. If you enjoy Game On DC, we would love to hear from you. Leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, and pretty much anywhere else you can find an RSS feed. If they allow reviews, please do leave one. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media to keep up with all the esports news here in the DMV. Joey, where can our listeners go to follow Game On DC?
Absolutely. Posting it in chat as well, guys. Head over to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram and find us at Game On DC. Additionally, we do check the hashtag GoDC, so feel free to use that as well. Last but not least, go ahead and check us out on YouTube, OTN Media, or over here on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/OTN Media. This show right now, bi-weekly in the off season, 8 p.m. Eastern time. During the regular season, we'll be going back Mondays, 8 p.m. every week. But right now, while we're still in the off season, there's not too much to talk about on a week-to-week basis. Now that the players are in town, though, John, that could change very soon.
Absolutely. Make sure you do follow so you know when the next episode of Game On DC is ready. Hit that sub and follow button to know when we are back and live. And again, follow on social media as well. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be back soon with more news here in the DMV, the East Coast capital of esports. Enjoy your week, and as always,
Game on, DC.